Murder on the beat, so it's not nice.
Welcome back to another episode of the NBA Clinic. I'm back here, Jonathan Currian.
I'm here, co-host Young Steros.
All right, man. Sterling, let's get into it. Just jumping in with the Western Conference right now. I am absolutely flustered. I have never, ever seen some shit like this before. We got the Nuggets coming in with the first seed, tied in with the Clippers right now. So either one of those two teams by the end of tonight could get the first seed. And then looking all the way down to the bottom of the rankings, we got the Rockets at the 13th seed, Pelicans at the 11th seed, Spurs at the 12th. God damn, the Grizzlies got the 6th seed? What is going on?
It's as if at least the Western Conference has just flipped from last year.
Yeah, it definitely looks inverted. That's for sure.
The Spurs, the Rockets, and the Jazz, 3 out of the 4 bottom teams in the West, that's just ridiculous.
I have no idea what happened with all of these teams at the bottoms. Like, I felt like the Jazz for sure were going to still be a playoff team. They're sitting at the 14th seed right now. The Rockets, I knew they were definitely going to fall off considering they lost Luke Mbamute and Trevor Ariza. Those are two key defensive players that they needed at wing positions, which is really crucial for what they do offensively and defensively. Especially if you want to switch, you need those wings to be very, very good. And, I mean, right now, they're just not being able to replicate it. They're clearly feeling the cost of that with Chris Paul being out for random injuries or him being old. I don't really know what it is. It looks like they're just resting him for the playoffs, to be honest. But that's a pretty pretentious move to make considering you're the 13th fucking seed in the West. Nonetheless, just like really alarming stuff happening here in the bottom of the Western Conference.
Well, I mean, I will say, you can't say it's pretty competitive, actually. Just thinking about the 14th seed, the Utah Jazz are only 5.5 games back of the first seed. So
5.5.
Yeah, so I'm saying that's a pretty competitive league. Like, to be 11-13, 2 games under 500, and be the 14th seed, I guess that just says something about the Western Conference. And it's going to be a battle this year because there's so many teams just performing. Like, from the top to bottom, everybody's going to give you a fight in the Western Conference this year, and you just going to have to battle. And if you look at the differential from points per game to opponents' points per game, all the teams that are plus are the top 8 teams, and then along with the Pelicans. But then all the rest of the teams that wouldn't be making the playoffs at this point are negative. So it says something that you really going to have to play defense this year and be able to score to be able to win games.
That's actually really true. I think defense has actually been shining the most in this Western Conference. And maybe that's why it looks so skewed right now. I feel like the past 2 seasons, there's been such a stress on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to the Western Conference and what it's known for, especially three-pointers, spacing the floor, really, really efficient pick and rolls with lobs and just like high-flying dunks. I feel like the Western Conference, their identity was kind of built on that offensive side. Whereas now we're really seeing the difference makers emerging from their ability to play defense. And that's the first time I've seen defense being worn as a badge of honor in the Western Conference and almost becoming the new identity of the Western Conference. I mean, it really shows with the teams definitely on the top. The Nuggets, the Clippers, and the Thunder right now play phenomenal defense. That goes without saying right now if you've been watching these games, but coming into the beginning of the season, that wasn't going to be obvious at all. But it makes a lot of sense now that you mention it, because what I notice, at least for the top 2 seeds right now, is that there isn't really any egos on either of those teams. They're just really hungry to prove themselves and win by any means necessary. And that really always shows up on the defensive side because a lot of defense is built on effort. And then the Thunder, that was already naturally a really good defensive team. I mean, they were last season outside of Melo, and they pretty much ran it back. Makes a lot of sense if you look at the individual players. Steven Adams, Paul George, Roberson when he's healthy. The team is very, very deep, actually, when it comes to defense.
Yeah, I have to agree with everything you said. I'm just excited, to be honest. The Denver Nuggets are balling right now. Shout out to the man Gary Harris, the indie product.
Yeah, I think the NBA is definitely at its best when all the teams are competitive. And this is the first time, at least in my lifetime, where I've seen an evenly competitive conference. And it's super enjoyable. It's super surprising. I would have never saw this coming. Thank God I'm not a betting man. I feel like I would have lost a lot of money just like thinking about seedings, win losses, all of that stuff. But I'm really glad about, what the NBA has become. It's not so top heavy anymore like it used to be. And it's really, really surprising. And no matter what, as long as you flip on the TV, if there's an NBA game on, it's going to be a high quality game. This is the only season I can really say that. There have been a lot of seasons in the 2000s, early 2010s where you could fuck around and turn on Kings Mavericks, and that game could be ass.
I mean, there still are a few poop games. Like, I'm not rushing to see the Cavs play anytime soon.
Oh yeah, but that's the Eastern Conference.
But, yeah, that's true. In the West, I'm even trying to see the Suns. They might be 4-19, but they got the man Devin Booker, so there's a chance of there's always a chance of you possibly seeing fireworks out of that man.
That's very true.
And then with DeAndre 8-2, I want to see how he's playing, being the rookie, first pick in the draft.
The Suns have a lot of pieces, and we talked about this last season. They have had an unusual history of being able to be given a lot of opportunities to get these high draft picks. And at this point, it's a matter of developing and capitalizing on the talent that you already have. And damn it, you're right, Sterling. The talent is always there, and that's what's always going to keep me watching. DeAndre Ayton has all the tools to be a great player in this league, and it's just a matter of him figuring it out, especially on the defensive end, because given his jump shot and his ability to pretty much score at will 15 feet and under, he's going to be able to be a big threat in this league. But if he can change that defense and actually become a legitimate rim protector, that changes the trajectory of the Suns short-term and long-term. I hope he can figure that out during the season because his team really, really needs it right now. And then Devin Booker, like what you were saying from before, the man didn't drop 70 by accident. This guy is one of the most lethal shooters in the league. It just sucks that once again we have to see him waste another season of talent pretty much having to be Kobe for this team because nobody else is really going to step up and try to will them to wins. Even though they signed really, really good players over the offseason that I thought would improve this team's overall record, like Trevor Ariza, we just haven't seen any of that value pay off yet. And who knows? It's a very competitive season right now, so maybe 30 games down the line, things start to pick up and the Suns go on a hot run. But as of right now, from what I've been able to see in the games, they're just not playing with the level of effort that you'd like to see. Josh Jackson, although extremely athletic, and it seems that the effort is there, it just seems that the team is very, very confused on guard positions, wing positions specifically. It's probably more of a coaching issue, but it just seems like the kids play hard for 2.5, 3 quarters and then kind of shoot it in at the very end. It just really sucks because there's a lot of young, talented players that could be of more value to other teams around the league. You're just kind of seeing their career development fall off.
I mean, I think that you're going to get that when you have a bunch of young talent together and not too many veterans. I mean, I guess that is one of the reasons why they brought in Trevor Ariza, a veteran, seasoned guy who's been around the league, been other places, knows how to get it done in the NBA, works hard, does all the right things. And that's the reason why you bring him in to try to teach that young talent. But I guess sometimes it might just take longer. I guess we just going to have to try to give it more time and see. Because I think it's still really early for this team. I did want to see them better than they are right now, but I definitely think this team hasn't just reached the point where people aren't getting better or anything. I think they just need more time to really figure out who they are and how they fit into the system.
I also think, like you mentioned from before, the main thing that is hurting them is the lack of veterans in the locker room. Outside of Jamal Crawford and Trevor Ariza, I feel like there's really, really a big disproportionate amount of veterans to rookies or young talent on this team, and it's just not enough for them to actually be able to form something cohesive. It's just really, really easy and logical and completely understandable for young teams to mail it in if they don't see something happen by the end of December or January. I totally understand that, and I just feel like that's going to happen to the Suns team just solely due to the fact that They don't really have that many veterans in the locker room to show them. We still need to find some form of consistency to be able to actually try to become playoff bound. When you have the highest valued veteran of your team being Ryan Anderson, I just feel like that creates a pretty big lack of leadership right there off the bat. I mean, the veterans can always advise you, but at the end of the day, you have to absorb what they're telling you. And I don't know if I'm a high draft pick who's like a number 2, number 3, number 4 draft pick in my respective draft class, if I'm listening to Ryan Anderson.
I think you got to take that as that's part of the process. I'm pretty sure that they took this contract knowing it was a cash dump, and they weren't trying to bring him in to actually mentor these kids and like actually provide that much basketball to the team. I think they was just doing this because they know like we still need more time, so we're gonna take this cash load, so it's gonna be gone in 2 years. This gives you time to keep acquiring this young talent in the draft.
It's been 5 years though. How many more years are we gonna say this though? At what point? Because it's been 6 years.
Did not work with the 76ers. How many years were the 76ers?
It took the 76ers
bad?
3 years. The Suns have been given double the amount of time and have done less. They have been tanking. You want to talk about trusting the process?
I would say 3 years. I would say.
When did they draft Embiid?
They were only. I say they were really only super bad for like 3 years. But they weren't really doing anything before that, so like.
Let's think about it like this. They drafted Embiid in 2014, right? So it's currently 2018 right now. It's been 4 years. The Suns were also really shitty in 2014 and also had a really high draft pick. They also had that the previous year. Like, they've been worse than the Sixers for longer and have had...
What about the...
Maybe not.
No. When they had Bledsoe and Brandon Knight, they was competitive.
For one season. What happened?
That wasn't that far. That wasn't that long ago.
Yes, it was. Look it up. What season was that? 2012?
2012, 2013. We're going to have to see.
Or maybe 2013-14.
So 2014-2015 roster has both of them on it. Eric Bledsoe and Brandon Knight.
But that's when they were shitty. See, that's when they started losing. 2013-14, that was the season.
This team was not that bad. They had Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, but see, once again, this goes back to having the talent and just not being able to fully capitalize. So their peak, if we look at the whole sample size from 2010, the beginning of this decade, to right now, they have had one winning season. They've had one winning season in the past 8 years. One season with a winning record in the past 8 years. Since 2010 and 11, they've had one winning season. And their peak was the 9th seed. Since 2010 to right now, their peak has been the 9th seed. That's just not doing good enough. You can trust the process, but at a point of time, you are given a certain amount of assets and you have to capitalize off of that. And if you aren't able to do that, you should get legitimately punished. You shouldn't be able to get high draft picks if you showed this amount of incompetence as an organization for this long. And it's not the players' fault. It's the people at the top. It really starts there. I know the owner has fired the GM and fired the coach at random moments. And I really think at the end of the day, this is ownership's fault that this team has fallen off this badly. I don't know. It just feels like they haven't learned any of the stuff that you and me talked about last year. They need more veterans. And they need to just be able to actually have an offensive scheme that can develop talent or at least use the most for what they have. All right, I feel like we spent enough time talking about this shitty team. It's time to move on to better things in the Western Conference. These Memphis Grizzlies sitting at the 6th seed right now. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Michael Conley have been putting in work, and it is really paying off. I'm glad to see him here, but I did not see this coming. Sterling, what are your thoughts on these Memphis Grizzlies right now?
Everybody's been sleeping on Mike Conley since he's been in the league. And if you got a nice point guard, you always gonna have a solid team. So then with the addition of Jared and his emergence this season, they got a nice little squad. Marcus All's always been nice. Mike Conley balling, Jaren Jackson stretch out the floor, Amiri Caspi, he always puts in good minutes. I'm liking his team.
That's true, man. Shouts out the Grizzlies for being able to just totally flip it. Considering where they were at last year, given their limited resources, I mean, they really putting in that nice work now. And outside of Marcus Gasol's player option coming in for $25 million for next season, they damn near have everybody off the books next year. Yeah, outside of Jaren Jackson, Kyle Anderson, and Mike Conley, literally everybody's off the books. Oh, damn. They still got that Chandler Parsons contract, though. No. Oh no, Chandler Parsons.
He still be getting in and like giving you something though. I'll give him that.
But he not giving. Yeah,
He's
I mean
not
he's a
worth.
player.
He's not worth that money that he got paid at all. But at least he'll give you something. At least he's just not worthless.
Yeah, I just felt bad for the Grizzlies. I was like, dang. Yeah, I agree with you, Sterling. Chandler Parsons is definitely a player. He's nice. He's going to be able to do something on the basketball court. I'm not here to knock the man's ability nor talent, but good Lord. $24 million this year and then $25 million next year. Yeesh, that's rough. But I mean, outside of that, they still got a lot of money to play with because damn near everybody else is coming off the book. So you never know. One trade or the other coming in the next season, they're looking at enough cap space to sign 2 free max agents. Who knows? With Mike Conley doing some nice recruiting, with Jaren Jackson continuing to show rookie of the year potential, I mean, they might be able to make some noise in the offseason and get somebody to come. Who knows?
I don't know if anybody want to come to Memphis though.
That's true. I'm just trying to, shout out Memphis and give them the most optimistic take I can. But you're right, especially considering how many other teams are also going to have a lot of money coming into next season. Clippers, Knicks, Brooklyn Nets. It's going to be tough for Memphis to compete, but they got talent and they're heading in the right direction. I'm glad to see it. Before we move on from the Western Conference, is there anything else that you want to talk about?
I guess we can always talk about what's always talked about when it comes to sports, and that'd be LeBron and the Lakers.
Tyson Chandler's a nice pickup.
Yeah, how do you just feel about the season so far? Like, have they progressed in what you thought they would be? Or is this exactly where you thought they'd be at this point in the season? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
They've exceeded expectations. I mean, I did not think that they were going to be this good this early, to be honest. I thought it was going to be rougher development, but maybe it's because LeBron's knowing when to find players, where to find players, and most importantly, the difference between this Lakers team and the Cavs team from last season is the other players around LeBron are starting to learn how LeBron plays and where they can expect the ball to be at. And most importantly, like we saw yesterday when they beat the Suns, they can do it without LeBron now because they're learning from LeBron. And that's what I love to see. I did not think the young players were going to learn as quickly as they did. I knew Josh Hart was going to be able to respond really quickly because he's a Villanova boy. He's very coached very well. Takes the game very seriously. He put in the work at the Summer League during the offseason this year. I knew he was going to come in and give us work, but even though Lonzo's not being able to score the way I would like him to, he still always makes a huge impact on the court. The veterans have been able to find their way in this team in terms of role playing, and they're doing a great job with that. Michael Beasley has emerged the last 2 games, which I have loved. I was wondering when he was going to start getting minutes on this team because I remember all the work he was putting in for the Knicks last season. He's starting to get those minutes now, and it's already starting to yield wins. Most importantly, man, this boy Kyle Kuzma, shooter, bro. He not stopping his shots just because LeBron on the team, and I love that. Like, Kuzma don't care. Like, he still got that Kobe mentality to him. And I knew you were going to at least need to have one person who is going to be a bona fide stone cold shooter on this team. And Kuzma has stepped up and been that. He's not fazed by the fame. He's not fazed by the celebrity. He's not fazed by none of that. He's just coming there and he's going to drop 20 because he's focused about being the best Kuzma. And that's why I'm really fucking with him right now. I'm fucking with his fit on this team, and I'm fucking with the way that this team is playing, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah, bro, I'm loving this team. Like you said, Kuzma, he doesn't care, because last year we saw when the young players got around LeBron in the playoffs, they just folded. Like, Rodney Hood was nowhere to be seen. Jordan Clarkson, they just weren't up to the challenge when they came to playing with LeBron. But Kuzma, he just goes out there, like you said, he's worried about being the best Kuzma he can be. He's not worried about, I might make a mistake, and LeBron's just gonna be mad at me. Ain't nothing like that. It's just, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna get buckets. And I think LeBron loves that and respects that. It's like, yes, finally, people who aren't afraid to play with me. They just want to play and get dubs.
This young team doesn't have any Kobe PTSD. They just want to come in and be the best version of themselves. And most importantly, they play for an organization that's supportive of them finally. Like, it's no longer like Jim Buss and a bunch of incompetence. It's like the best possible organization you could be under. Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka, that's what you want. And the whole city of Los Angeles is behind. The one thing that I will say is I just want to see a consistent Brandon Ingram. I know it's there. I'm always seeing nuggets of it, but now it's like he's at the point of his career where we need to start converting these nuggets of greatness into something more consistent. It's a long season. I hope that's the thing that pans out, because if he gets consistent, like if he can be a consistent 18, 19 point scorer every game, this team is looking nice, because he's already a great cutter to the basket. He plays well defensively. That's been the way he's been able to get his points as of right now. It's been mostly like just transition, fast break plays, or just drawn up plays for him to cut and then go get a layup because he has such a length. But I want to see him be able to create a lot more. Like if Brandon Ingram could start creating his own shots and his offensive points start going up per game, I think this Lakers team is about to be really, really nice come playoff time.
Yeah, I think all Laker fans are looking to see that day happen. If Brandon Ingram can get going and live up to his potential, which is really a poor man's Kevin Durant. Like, he has all the physical attributes and the skill to do it. We just need him to go out there and just do it. And if that happens, the league will be in trouble.
I gotta mention this real quick. The Spurs. Greg Popovich a couple days ago gave yet another interview talking about how the NBA has been completely ruined by the three-point shot, that there's no beauty in playing basketball anymore because it's just a matter of getting 3 points up, and it kind of erases the whole strategy of basketball. Although I totally understand his sentiments and I respect his consistency, because Pop has been saying this since the 90s. I do have to admit, this mindset might start to affect the overall health of the Spurs. Sterling, do you think it's a good idea that the Spurs aren't taking 3-point shots?
No. Not in today's league.
That's all we had to say about that. I mean, it's really that simple. I mean, Popovich is the GOAT coach, but if you want to be ignorant to your emotions, it's going to get you that 12th seed. All right. And with that being said, we're going to move on to the Eastern Conference, start breaking stuff down. You know, right now we got the Bulls at the bottom. Fred Hoiberg randomly gets fired this week out of nowhere, out of the blue. And they're sitting 5-20 right now. Sterling, do you think the firing of Fred Hoiberg is going to help this team get dubs?
I don't think it's going to help them get dubs. At this point, I think they're just too young. They need more experience. I think that's the only thing that's really going to help them, is they just going to have to keep playing and just learn how to win. They got a lot of nice young talent. I'm liking what I see. Wendell Carter, Zach LaVine early in the season. He been doing his thing.
Jabari Parker coming back off of that injury.
Yeah, Jabari Parker. No, who's the forward?
Oh, Lauri Markkanen?
Yes, they got Lauri Markkanen.
He's finally back, so I'm excited to see Lauri back on that court with his team.
They got a lot of nice young pieces. They just need to give them time to grow up in the NBA.
I think the best thing for this team right now is to probably just make a trade during the offseason to just get some veteran talent in there and already just start speeding up the development process. Because they have young talents, but like obviously because all of these young players are really, really good assets, they're not all going to be able to get paid within this year, next year, and the year after next. So this actually might be a really good opportunity to figure out what pieces you want to keep and then use those pieces that you don't want to keep to trade for some undervalued yet really, really good veteran role players that help focus this team into trying to play all 82 games this year, because it's going to be very, very tough for these players in the Bulls organization to focus in like February, March, and April when they know they about to go home. And you don't want to lose moments on like key development. Hopefully they can get that trade popping, or hopefully they can figure out their coaching situation. I mean, Fred Hoiberg definitely wasn't ready for the NBA level yet. I think he was really, really good when he was the coach at Iowa. I still think he'd be a really good college coach, but I don't know if he's ready for the NBA yet. And that doesn't mean he's a bad coach or this was like some abomination that happened. I just think it was a bad fit and it was bad timing. Maybe Fred Hoiberg gets a better shot at this later on, but given what he was trying to do, what he did in Iowa, and the talent that was given to him, it was just never going to work out. And there's honestly like a lot of fingers that need to be pointed in this organization to improve it, but I don't think it all falls on Fred Hoiberg's shoulders.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I didn't think he was ready to really coach in the NBA. I always saw him more as a college coach, especially with the system that he was running when he was back in Iowa. I think he should go back to the college game and he'll excel there. But yeah, I think the Bulls just need to do their research and get a good head coach to come in and be able to teach these young guys how to play in the NBA and just develop them.
Sterling, if you had the chance to hire the next coach of the Chicago Bulls, who would you get?
What about Jason Kidd?
Oh, that's good. I like that. I actually like that a lot, so long as he's not the permanent solution. You have to let Jason Kidd have his average coaching career where it's like 3 years he comes in there, he makes sure that these kids are on their fucking P's and Q's, over disciplines them, overworks them, make sure that they take the shit seriously, and really just like squeezes the fuck out of these like young players' talent early. But then like don't abuse it. Like you're gonna have to get rid of him after the third year. Otherwise you're gonna fall into that Thibodeau situation. And the same thing happened for Jason Kidd too on the Bucks, where like players were getting injured. They weren't listening to Jason Kidd at all because he was just being a dick. You don't want it to get to that point. And maybe Jason Kidd has learned those lessons since his last two stints in the Nets and the Bucks respectively. But if you can just get Jason Kidd in there to actually just like discipline this young team very, very early and get them focused on watching game film, focused on learning schemes, focused on them being able to take like more of the IQ pointers that you need for basketball, especially being able to apply that consistently for 48 minutes and 82 games. He definitely would be a great fit for that.
Yeah, I think he'd just be good for teaching the youngins how to conduct themselves in the NBA and the learning process that it takes, and develop their mind more than just their physical skills. Because basketball is still a very mental game when it comes down to it.
Yeah, especially at the professional level, because the talent is there for everybody. The thing that separates the great athletes from the good ones is their minds. But yeah, man, now that we're done talking about the worst seed right now in the Eastern Conference, we're going to move on up. Probably going to skip the Hawks. Probably going to skip the Cavs. I want to talk about the Knicks, Sterling. Do you? You can say no if you want to.
Not to be honest. To be honest, no.
It hurts, but I feel you. Shouts out ISO Zoe. Shouts out Fizdale the God, you know what I'm saying? Shouts out damn near everybody else except Kevin Knox. Kevin Knox, I got to see more out of you. I know I'm being a savage Knicks fan, but god damn it, it's because I believe in you. All right, moving on. We got the Nets. Don't want to fucking talk about them. The Heat, Dwayne Wade's having his final season. That's about it. I spent all of the last podcast talking about the Wizards. Unless, Sterling, do you have some shit you want to get off about the Wizards?
Nah, not at all. I just want to... No, I'm not going to say
We talk
anything.
about Dwight?
I'm not gonna say
I knew
anything.
I knew you wanted to talk about Dwight. I heard it in your voice.
It's an interesting situation.
It's just really, really unfortunate. The injury is so related to the story. Okay, here's what I'm saying. If it flies like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it might be a duck.
I'm just saying, stuff's not adding up to me. It don't make sense. Because this man got like 8 baby mamas. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to leave it right there. That stuff don't make sense.
Moving on to the Hornets. Kemba Walker is hooping, but that's about it.
I mean, it's another very slept on point guard. Him and Mike Conley, probably the most underrated point guards in the league.
After that, we got the 7th seed, Orlando Magic. I actually do want to talk about this team because Frank Vogel has finally been able to capitalize on the dreams of the GM for the Orlando Magic for the past 5 years. Their long-term goal for the past 5 years was to build a team of just hybrid forwards, super switchable, super long, ridiculous wingspans where you're going to just be able to lock you up defensively and then just have something fucking magically work out on the offense. And Frank Vogel is the coach to do that if you needed a team to do that, because that's how the Pacers was playing for a little bit, and they got the man who coached that team, and we're already starting to see dividends pay off for this great coach hire. Shouts out Mo Bamba. Shouts out Jonathan Isaac. They're young and they're getting to it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't really know too much about this team, but Mo Bamba, he's gonna be nice. He's gonna be a very good player in the future. Nikola Vucevic.
Oh yeah,
that man's
Vucevic
nice
is nice.
He will go out there and get you a quick triple-double sometimes.
Hey, that's another underrated player right there, actually, because he's been doing it for a couple of seasons, too. I feel like nobody ever gives him props.
Exactly. Everybody been sleeping on this man.
This isn't like anything new that he's doing this season, which is crazy. He's just doing the same old. But people are finally starting to notice now because the Magic are on the 7th seed.
it's also crazy to see that man DJ Augustine. Yeah, he's back doing his thing, man. He's in his 10th season.
Shouts out the veteran, bro.
Like,
yeah, DJ Augustine is the
hey.
veteran, man. He's been around the league since like I fell in love with the game of basketball for real. Like, it's just great to see.
I remember watching this man in Texas.
That's crazy.
Nice back in the day.
Damn, bro.
Back in the day, my man was nice. And then Mo Bamba on the team, two
Hey,
Texas teammates.
man,
I like
shouts out
it.
Texas, baby. You already know what time it is, you know what I'm saying? Man, Kevin Durant. Hey, listen, man, UT got some alumni now. This Magic team also nice, man. Shouts out Frank Vogel. I'm glad he was able to capitalize with what they have, and I'm really, really just proud of these young players, like just putting the work in to get right to it. My only fear is that it's early in the season, and I remember how good they were last season starting off, and I don't want to get my hopes up. I like what I'm seeing right now. I hope this young team doesn't quit, and they keep it going. After that, we got the 6th seed, man. The Celtics, they're slowly starting to figure it out. I know they're going to be one of the nicer teams coming in to the playoffs this season. I know they're going to do work in the playoffs, but Sterling, are we panicking or are we more assured?
They just gotta have time to figure it out. If you think about it, Gordon Hayward got hurt first game of the season last year, so they never really got to play together like actual meaningful NBA games with Gordon Hayward in the lineup. The other day, he just dropped 30 points for a high since he's been back. Like, I think that, like you said, they starting to figure it out, and it's just going to take time, and they're going to get it down. They're going to be a very nice defensive team, and they're going to be able to score from many different ways. Like, they got many different options of people who need to get their minutes, and when they get their minutes, you know they're going to be productive.
Sterling, I couldn't have said it better. I think you're completely on the mark for that. I hope they do get it together because they're the only real threat to the Warriors, if I can be completely honest. The depth that they have on this team, the talent that they have on this team, and the coaching that they have on this team. And most importantly, the work ethic that this team has. Like, this team is hungry for a championship. Their history is about hanging banners. Like, their time is now. Hey, Sterling, guess who's the 5th seed?
Them Pacers. But I'm not even a Pacers fan like that, but it is nice to see them doing well. I gotta give it up to them. The man Victor Oladipo been hurt, unfortunately, but when he come back, he has solidified himself as a star in this league. Miles Turner, I would have liked to see a little bit more improvement from him this year. I want to see a little bit more from him. But that man Sabonis, he's cold. Sabonis is nice.
He definitely is, man. What a trade. What a trade for Paul George. Looking back at that, they knew what they were doing, man. Kevin Pritchard, that GM for the Pacers, he is a smart guy.
Yeah, he put together a nice team, but there are just players I need to see more out of, like Doug McDermott. I want to see a little bit more out of him. Darren Collison been balling. I'd like to see more out of TJ Leaf when he gets in the game. He was a first-round pick, I do believe. So I would like to see him doing something. He's getting paid $2 million this year. But yeah, it's very exciting times here in Indiana for Pacers fans.
That's good to see, man. So this 4th seed, coming out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming. I wasn't very big up on them coming into this season. Maybe it's been the coaching. Maybe it's been the meteoric rise of Blake Griffin's ability to score on spacing, three-point shooting, and just overall passing ability. I have no idea how he's been able to improve on an already great skill set, but this man, along with this team, has been hooping.
They can be nice. Like, I remember talking about this team last year, and now I think they really are starting to figure out how to play with each other and really figuring out how the pieces are put together, and I like where this team is going. They got nice young pieces with veterans.
That's very true. They have a great mix of veteran talent along with younger players that really, really are starting to grow into their own, especially Stanley Johnson. And Reggie Jackson's finally being able to play the way that Reggie Jackson wants to play. I was telling Sterling this earlier before we even started the podcast, but the Pistons and the Nuggets are very, very similar in that they have transcendently good passing big men. Like, it's really, really opening up the offense in ways that we've never seen from before, because traditionally speaking, we always see guards bring the ball down the floor and then have to handle some form of the offense from there onwards. But with players like Nikola Jokic and Blake Griffin, we have talent that's able to bring the ball down the court as a big. And through that, it just opens up the offense in completely different ways, allowing the guards to actually focus a lot more on just being able to get a bucket. And because of that, it opens up the games for players like Jamal Murray on the Nuggets or Reggie Jackson on the Pistons. And I really just think that these guards are being able to capitalize with a lot more of the spacing that Blake is able to provide by having great vision as a passer, and then also just being able to just be a threat at the rim along with Andre Drummond. And it works out because Luke Kennard, like Sterling and I were saying last season, has always been a great shooter. He's getting more open looks. Reggie Jackson's finally being able to cut the way that he used to when he was on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Stanley Johnson has just taken his game up a notch. And Dwayne Casey is really coaching with that revenge mentality, because he won Coach of the Year and still got fired from the Raptors. Kind of felt like he was the fall guy. And once again, he's shown, I'm not a joke. I'm a real serious coach in this league, and I can get this team wins. And they're all doing it right now. I love it. It's real Detroit grit and grind, real Detroit mentality. I'm glad that they're back in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that Dwayne Casey is doing well in the NBA as a coach. Like, he always was good. It's just when that Raptors team, I felt like they just didn't have the stars they needed when it came down to crunch time to be able to defeat LeBron. And it really wasn't Dwayne Casey's fault. He just didn't have that closer who would be able to stand up to LeBron and just take him out.
And then after that, we got the top three, the usual suspects, and it'll probably change over time throughout the season. The Bucks, the 76ers, and the Raptors. Raptors got the first seed, Bucks got the second seed right now. 76ers got the third seed. For me, honestly, it's been the same old for these three teams. They haven't done anything new this past week or so since the last podcast that I can really notice. Sterling, is there anything you want to say about these three teams?
Toronto's consistent. They're showing that they're definitely going to be a force this year. Might end up having the best record in NBA. Giannis is balling with the Bucks. I'm glad to see that. He's really doing this thing. And the 76ers, they've been looking pretty nice since Jimmy Butler came over in that trade. I'm not sure about their ceiling because I don't know in the end how they're going to be able to work in the playoffs when you need to get buckets. Like, who are you going to go to? You got to make sure you have that guy who you're going to get the ball to. And I'm not sure who they're choosing right now. I think that might lead to problems in the future. But yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing right now out of all three of these teams. I think they'll be consistent throughout the season and at least end up in the top 5 seeds, all three of these teams, by the end of the season.
Definitely. I totally agree with your opinion on that. And to even piggyback off of what you're saying, I definitely don't think the ceiling for the Philadelphia 76ers as currently constructed is a championship. I think they're always going to be around for contention given the talent that they have on that team. And it's a lot of talent, but just the way that it fits, like you were saying, especially around crunch time, I just don't see them being able to handle those NBA final games yet. It just doesn't seem like the talent in terms of the shooting and the spacing is there. But who knows? Who really knows? And that's the best thing about this league right now. That's the best thing about this year. And it's an open Eastern Conference. It's an open Western Conference. I love it.
Yeah, I'm definitely exciting times in the NBA. They growing their product and everything, and I'm here for it. I'm just ready to enjoy. Sit back and enjoy.
For sure, man. And with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the NBA Clinic. We out.
Peace.